Goats are very hardy, but you do need to remember that if it's really, really cold, they need some kind of shelter to keep the wind off them. And a very important thing to remember is hey everybody, and welcome back to Cattywampus Acres. This is going to be maybe a different kind of video. I don't know that it is, but we had one of our viewers. Her name's Kimberly, and she was asking, she said she's going to start raising goats herself, and she just needs to know everything there is to know about goats. And we really appreciate you asking. I don't know that I can tell you everything there is that you need to know, but I'm going to give you all some tips, and definitely Kimberly, some tips on what you need to start raising goats. The chickens are going to help me. I got Kevin over here, he's going to help me, and then what you can't see is Luna is down here. So here I am in our goat pen. This is one of 3 goat pens we have. This thing is probably about 40 or 50 feet wide and a couple hundred feet long, maybe 150 feet long. In this pen right here, we have all of our girls who are either really little, they are in milk, or they are about to be in milk. Well, right here behind me, you can see we have our 3 Nigerian dwarf does, and they are sectioned off because they are all really close. Do you see those big bellies in there? Jolene back there, the tan one, she is really, really close, and so Lauren sectioned them off last night because we want them to have a special area just for them to have their babies and to spend some time with them and get close to them, and the other goats can't really mess around with them. So behind me, what you see right here is a hay feeder. Hay feeders come in all shapes and sizes. You can build one, you can buy one, you can do whatever you want. We have a million of them out here that we've built or bought or whatever, repurposed, whatever you want to call it. But ultimately, what I want you to remember is hay is goats' most important feed. Goats should have hay pretty much 24/7, free choice whenever they want. Now, if you look right back here, this red bucket, this is an automatic water. That's very important. Goats can drink gallons of water a day, each goat. So it's very important to remember that they need a lot of water. Do not forget that. Make sure that they always have water, whether it be cold or hot. Now, this is one of our barns. This is one I built myself. I have a video on that. Make sure you go check that out. I'll try and remember to put a link. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. The important thing is goats are very hardy, but you do need to remember that if it's really, really cold, they need some kind of shelter to keep the wind off them. And a very important thing to remember is goats hate water. They hate getting wet. They like drinking it. They do not like getting rained on. So they need a shelter that they can go under when it's raining. They will act like you are torturing them if one drop of water hits their head. So just remember that. They need some kind of shelter to get out of the rain and protect them from really cold weather. Now, right next to that is the door to our milk barn. For us, we have milked without a milk barn, but this is really, really important for us because the other day it was pouring rain, and we were able to come out and milk in the morning without getting rained on, and that is crucially important because you're not going to want to keep milking if you do not have a place to do it out of the elements. And for more in-depth milking stuff, I would recommend going and watching all of our goat videos because we have a whole bunch of stuff in there. I actually built a vacuum milker to milk multiple goats, and it works really great, so make sure you check that out. If you're just starting out and you're just milking one dairy goat, you probably just need to learn how to milk by hand, and we show you how to do that in all kinds of videos. So I would recommend don't get into a big milking system if you're just starting out with goats. Kevin here is demonstrating, or not demonstrating. So this is a brush. This is a brush from a street sweeper that they threw out. A buddy of mine got me that for free. They dispose of those after a while, and it's perfect because what the goats like to do, if you can see the fur sort of along there, goats like to be itched all the time, and so they just rub on there and they can just itch and just relieve the daily stresses. Isn't that right, Luna? Isn't that right? And then behind us, you see benches, you see tires, you see all kinds of things. This is just repurposed stuff. Goats like to climb. They like to climb as high as they can possibly get. If they were able to get on your roof, they would go on your roof. If they were able to get on that roof, they would get on that roof. Now back over here, once again, where Mr. Kevin's standing, You can see we have two grain feeders. They're right over here, and those are important. We feed grain to our girls in the morning. Sometimes if they are in milk, they have a higher demand for fat and protein, so we'll feed them more than that. But don't let anybody trick you into thinking that grain or goat feed, no matter how great or bad it is, that it is the main food for goats, because it is not. Hay is always going to be their main food. Always remember that. They need that because inside of a goat's belly, they have multiple chambers and they create something called rumen. And in order to make that rumen right, they need all that chewed up hay in there to make sure that their bellies are right and set and they are nice and healthy. Now, if you're going to keep male goats or bucks who are non-castrated goats, you need to have them separate from your girls, specifically if they're in milk. Nigerian dwarfs or miniature goats can be bred once a month, and so if they are not bred, you put them in there with a buck, they're going to make it happen. Now the larger goats, like our La Manchas that are behind me, they actually can only be bred in spring and fall, but once again, it can happen all the time. And in order to control your herd and make sure all kinds of crazy stuff isn't going on, you need to have a separate pen for your bucks to make sure that they're just not trying to breed these girls all the time, and you have a hand and you have control in that. Once again, a little bit simpler. Hay feeder back here, grain feeders back here. The boys are pretty rugged. The boys don't need all the fancy barn stuff. Now, you may have noticed that there's not a ton of grass growing in here. And there used to be grass in here, but the goats will wear it down. So this area is what you would consider a dry paddock. This is what our vet recommends. If your goats eat a lot off the ground, they are highly likely to get parasites. And because we have dry paddocks and we feed our goats up off the ground, we rarely ever have to deal with parasites. I wanted to point something out. As this video goes on, if you notice some shaking of the camera, it is not me. It is a goat chewing on my tripod. I just wanted to point that out, just if anybody's wondering what the heck is going on. So now we're talking about fence. Fencing has to be strong, has to be well supported, and what we use is a 4x4 sheep and goat red brand fence. It doesn't have to be red brand, but it has to be woven. This is woven fence. Let me take you up close and show you what I'm talking about. See how this is woven? It's got little knots around it. This is important because of that right there. If you just use welded fence, they will stand on it, they will break it, and it will not last that long, and your goats will get out, and you'll either have angry neighbors or goats running around the highway. I will point out a very cool thing. If you put your chickens in with your goats, or if they have the same area to roam, the chickens will actually eat the little goat pellets that they poop out, and there's all kinds of nutrients the chickens can get from that, and it will not make the chickens sick. Goats are what we would consider a vegan animal. They only eat vegetation, so the chickens are going to get all kinds of good stuff out of there, and they will be able to just deal with that. And actually, if you don't have anything, you don't have to worry about cleaning up the goat poop, because every time it rains, it goes away. It breaks down really, really easy. So just a brief recap on what we talked about what you need getting started with goats. You need an area, whether it be a pasture or dry paddock like we have here. It needs to be fenced in with very strong posts or T-posts and woven 4x4 fence. Very important. It flexes. It will not break the way that the other stuff does. Very important. Get yourself strong fence. Also remember, goats need water all the time. You need to make sure that they never run out of water. They have it whenever they want it, and that they can go up and they actually will slurp that stuff up. They drink crazier and faster than anything I've ever seen before. Also remember, you want to give them hay, good quality orchard hay like Bermuda or rye or something like that all the time. Make sure you check with your vet specifically and your goats to make sure that they have a healthy diet. We keep up with ours. Our vet is very happy with the way that our goats are doing, so we stick with a coastal Bermuda. That's what we use, and it works really, really good. For once a day, usually you're going to want to have a grain or goat feed that is between 12 and 16% protein, and that's what you're going to want to feed to them once, maybe twice a day at the most. And another thing I think I failed to mention is mineral. Goats need copper, and if you have sheep, they can't be around it because sheep cannot have copper like goats can have copper. And so you can use a mineral block. We have one laying on the ground over there that the girls will just eat at and lick at and chew on. And we also have some loose that we will give them when they're in the milk barn, and we put them in the stand in order to make sure that they're getting plenty of minerals. Minerals are very, very important. A mineral deficient goat is usually a dead goat. So all in all, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a little bit more about goats and what you need to start with goats. Kevin wanted to come say hi. So I hope you learned a whole bunch about goats. Thank you for joining us. If you have any more questions, feel free to hit us down in the comments below with any of your questions. We try to do our best. Make sure you follow us on all the platforms, whether that be Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, or here on YouTube. And you can keep up with everything we're doing here on the farm. And Kevin, we have to let them know, if you need goat's milk soap, we got you. We make some of the most amazing goat milk soap you will ever use. Make sure you go to cattywampusacres.com to check out all the soaps that we offer. We offer free shipping, and it'll come right to your door wherever you're at in the 48 United States. All right? Thank you guys so much for joining us. We always say, when you homestead, you're home fed. We'll see you guys next time.